And the we tonight includes me, Ian.
Me, Johnny Ray.
And Mark.
Johnny Ray, who did likely not vote today.
Certainly not.
In the primary that happened here in New Hampshire. I did, and Mark, I imagine you did as well. There were some interesting things that happened during the James Cleveland campaign, including we were threatened. Some people, I guess I wasn't threatened, but some people, including Derek J., were threatened by campus security as we were doing outreach throughout the day, giving flyers and giving information to college students, attempting to recruit them to go to the polls, giving them free rides to the polls, that kind of thing. Does
that give you some idea how many people voted? And if so, are the numbers exciting or disappointing?
I don't know how many people voted the last time around. I think we're probably close to that this time.
It was about
around,
100 from what I understood.
No, it was like 150 to 200, I think.
Okay.
And this time there have been at least 200 votes. I know that much. But I don't want to get into the minutia of it. I just was kind of recapping.
Is Robin Hood going to be a state rep or not? That's what I need to know.
Well, right. You're talking about Robin Hood. That's James Cleveland. He's the guy who has sort of been the real push behind the leader, if you will, behind the Robin Hooding effort here, which is where people save folks from getting parking tickets in downtown Keene, where if the parking enforcer is walking around, you find the enforcer, you walk in front of her, and then you put change in meters. In fact, I actually had a chance to do some Robin Hooding today while I was out. Was intending to be campaigning, but while I was waiting, I was one of the people that was able to give rides. So I was sort of there in an area in which I was waiting by my car. And
James Cleveland's strategy is to go after the students, right?
Going after
young
the students. Yep. We're going after them with a message of legalization of cannabis, lowering the drinking age. There's a surprising number of students who don't want to legalize cannabis and don't want the drinking age lowered, which is amazing. But
I hope they had to walk to the polls.
Well, that's just it. If somebody wanted to ride to the polls, we wouldn't know who they were going to vote for, right? So in theory, we could have been giving rides to the competition. You don't know.
I'm sure you did more than once.
Well, I only gave 2 rides. So
okay.
I don't
mean
know.
You specifically. I meant you as a group.
Right. So
you plural.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So we'll call the second person plural.
Anyway, so that was fun. Derek J. ended up getting basically thrown off of campus. Oh, we've got somebody on the line there. We'll get to that. Derek J. was basically thrown off of campus today, and they never threatened me or Chris Cantwell or a couple of the other folks that were out there helping out. So after Derek J. was kicked off, 3 of us went on the campus and continued to hand out flyers as none of us had been threatened. And nobody messed with us. We were on there for a solid hour and a half without any issue whatsoever. So Derek's got video of the threatening going down, and I got video of the ridiculous behavior of the parking enforcer, who she was upset that I was there. She didn't like that. She showed up at a place where I was, and I immediately grabbed the nickels and the Robin Hood cards and started to fill meters. And she immediately turned around as soon as I got close, and then I turned around, and I followed her, and she turned around, and and I followed her, and she turned around again, and she kept turning around to where she was not actually pacing more than 6 or 7 paces before she would turn around and then turn around again, and so she wasn't moving anywhere.
It's like that carnival game where you're shooting the ducks and they turn around and go back the other way.
And I asked her if she feels silly when she does this at all, because I thought it was very silly behavior and very childish. And, of course, I was dogging her. There's no doubt about it. But that's my job as a Robin Hooder, is to fill meters and save people from getting tickets. And if I'm not walking nearby the parking enforcer, then I'm not saving anyone from getting a ticket. So she was getting very frustrated with me for continuing to follow her. And literally for minutes, she was just walking back and forth. And I said, is this what they pay you to do? Don't they pay you to try to write tickets? Because at this point, all you're doing is walking back and forth, lady. So got that on video. So some interesting stuff happened today out at the polls. Let's go to Dennis Goddard. He's with us, calling from New Hampshire via Skype. You're on Free Talk Live, and that was Dennis clearing his throat earlier. Sorry about that, Dennis. I didn't mean to put that on the air.
Sorry, I thought I was on mute. So I can't believe this. Wait, you guys bust college students to the polls, to help facilitate them voting, preferably for you?
For James Cleveland, who is Robin Hood. He's running for state rep here in Keene.
This is awesome. I don't know if folks realize what a bugbear, what an issue it has been for the Republican Party of New Hampshire for at least a decade that I've been watching. They freak out because every year they contend, Democrats, knowing that most college students are going to vote Democrat Party have huge, big, organized busing campaigns where they bus the kids from the campus to the polling place and make sure that, go team go and vote for social justice and all these great things. So it is awesome that you guys are using kind of the same tactics that these people swear are causing minority Democrats to get, seats in government. You're using exactly the same tactics to get libertarians and anarchists in state governance.
Well, I don't know if it's going
awesome.
to. Well, I appreciate the compliment, Dennis, and you're a sort of a political watcher here in New Hampshire. You really are on top of things, so I do appreciate that. But we obviously don't know if James is actually going to get elected, or whether or not the busing did anything to get us any closer to the ultimate goal. But it's an interesting race because it's actually two political newbies. The other person he's against is a total noob, and in fact he's also a young person as well. So it's two people in their 20s. This other guy just graduated from college last year. So really it's kind of anyone's game, even though it's a Democratic stronghold that he's running in. James is running as a Democrat against another Democrat in the primary tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Well, there's really only two questions for any New Hampshire race. For sort of local office or state office. Number one, is it one of those absolutely every time we elect the party X, Democrat or Republican, and you're running in or against that party, in which case, you've already lost before you start if you pick the wrong fight there. But then question number two, if it's sort of a winnable race in theory, the question to ask is, has this person been a community volunteer in any way? Like, have they been helping stuff out around town, whether it be, the homeless shelter, the soup kitchen, just town committees, whatever it is? And if the answer is yes, they have a very good shot at winning. And if the answer is no, they have a very tough road to hoe.
I agree with you, Dennis, that's a good way to go about it. But to some extent, you're going to get tainted if, depending on, I think there's some bad things that you can do, right? Like you can take some strong stands on some unpopular issues. And I don't care how many homeless people you help at that point, you're a bad person as far as the voting public goes. Or you can be a known, come in and say, bum, 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 I'm a free stater. I'm here to help you, dum-dums. And that's going to really, not help at all in any way. I, for instance, am a volunteer firefighter, but I don't think I get any leverage. People grudgingly vote for me because I'm the only person on the ballot for the delegate to the state convention, which is a nothing role in the first place.
I happen to know that James Cleveland, the guy we're talking about here, has volunteered for something called, I think it's Green Up Keene, where folks go around and plant plants and pick up trash, things like that. So he's certainly done things in the community, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. That alone is going to be enough to get him to win in what is ultimately a Democratic stronghold in a city where the Democrats are on high alert for the Free Staters. In fact, there's a blog here in New Hampshire called Miscellany Blue, which is sort of a lefty blog, and they posted the other day, I don't know if you saw this, Dennis, but they posted some of their watched races, the races with people they've identified as Free State Project participants. And for our listeners that are tuning in maybe for the first time tonight, a Free State Project participant is somebody like all of us actually on the air right now who have signed the pledge at freestateproject.org to make the move to New Hampshire and to get active for freedom. Anyway, this Miscellany Blue blog is highlighted 6 or 7 or 8 races that all have Free Staters in them running as Democrats. So there are Free Staters running as Republicans and running as Democrats. And some of the old guard in both political parties are very upset about this. And I know, Dennis, you were calling for some reason, so we'll get to that here if you want to stick with us for some more analysis.
You bet.
Dennis Goddard with us here in a moment. We'll give you more. Well, we got the numbers back on the James Cleveland Robin Hood campaign. Many hours were spent on this campaign in an attempt to rally what I was what would have hoped to have been 100+ voters. It would have been nice to have gotten 100 votes in this campaign. It's primary season here in New Hampshire. For those of you listening to the show for the first time, the Free State Project is something that's a thing here. Free Staters are people who have moved to New Hampshire to get active for the ideas of freedom, and some of them are getting active by running political campaigns. There's things like civil disobedience, etc. But right now it's political season. and some folks are running as Republicans, others as Democrats. Today, our friend James Cleveland, a.k.a. Robin Hood, has not succeeded in his quest to reach the state house.
Not remotely.
He got 30 votes, and the competitor, who is a political newcomer, like James, both political newcomers, the competitor got 120 votes.
He might be the best Liberty candidate you guys have run in, Keene. He got 20% of the vote.
That's not an unusual amount, though, Mark. I think Julia got like 24% a while back. I think Andrew Carroll, who also ran, got in the 20s as well, so it's not unheard of. So it doesn't really seem like he got more than he would have gotten had he not spent hours and hours and hours campaigning. That's the thing with running with politics.
Well, he ran in Ward 1, though, so he might very well have gotten more by the work he did. He just didn't get enough. And this is really
he may have gotten an extra 10 or 15 votes. I don't know. Maybe it would have been 3 votes if he hadn't have done all the campaigning.
The problem with voting is that you have this real inefficiency that goes on. I don't know how many billions of dollars are spent per year or per every 4-year terms on advertising. But think about it for a second. The Republicans, they run their ads. The Democrats run their ads. The PACs run their ads. The super PACs run their ads. It's all this yickety-yakking going on into space. And at the end of it, the guy who has one more vote than the other guy takes everything away. And so all the effort that the loser put in is a complete waste of time, and frankly, most of the effort the winner put in, because all he was trying to achieve one more vote than the loser.
It's not always a true statement that it's a complete waste of time. For instance, I've been running for governor here, and I've put no time whatsoever, virtually no time. I mean,
most candidates aren't running principled campaigns.
Right. I've answered some questionnaires, and I'm running a principled campaign, so everybody I reach with the ideas of freedom, I think, is worth the effort. But Dennis Goddard is back with us. He's an early mover for the Free State Project. And Dennis, what was it you were calling about tonight?
So I got to vote for not one but 2 Free Staters on my Democratic primary ballot today.
Oh, okay.
One of them was, of course, you for governor. That felt kind of cool. I actually took a little picture because it was kind of neat, right? Ian Freeman and a little thing you can mark next to. So I thought that was cool. I took a picture of that and posted that up on the Free Talk Live website. So have fun.
Great.
And then the other was a guy that I know, actually, another Free Stater that's running for, I forget what he's running for, but it's some sort of political, sort of functionary type office, like a register of the probate or something like that, commissioner of deeds, something like that. But hey, 2 Free Staters on the Democratic ballot, and those were, I think, out of 3 contested races, 2 of them you had a Free Stater.
That's a good sign, right? I mean, that liberty activists here are doing this stuff. We're getting on the ballot, and I'm not going to win. I have no chance of winning against the incumbent Democrat for governor.
But Free Staters are winning. I mean,
I would hope so. We don't know. The results haven't come back.
No. Free Staters. I'm talking about dozens and dozens of Free Staters
over
have
the
won
years. Yes,
offices.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure the people who want to move for the Free State Project by going to sign up right now at freestateproject.org understand that this is the only way that people who are of a liberty mindset are ever going to win anything, because you guys have lost in all 49 other states.
Yeah. Well, the big question
is there are typically at least a dozen Free Staters in the House of Representatives.
Well, that's the big question tonight, I think, Dennis, is will there be a dozen after tonight? Will there be more than a dozen or fewer? Because I think in the last election, the number of Free Staters went down by 1, if I recall correctly.
It did. And, a lot of Free Staters, I'm surprised it went down that little. A lot of Free Staters wrote in on a very sort of limited government Tea Party Republican wave about 4 years ago or 3 years ago. And, that wave kind of reversed itself. There was a Democratic backwash. And what is just, I tell you, the biggest measure of impending success is the fact that we have more and more Free Staters running in both parties and running credible, real campaigns, not just on paper.
All right. So, wait, important question here, Dennis. As a real political watcher here in New Hampshire, do you think there are more Free State Project participants running this year than 2 years ago?
I know there are people who sort of make it their business to keep track of these numbers. Some folks at the Liberty Alliance, for example.
I believe the answer is no. I actually
there are not as many running.
No, there are about as many running.
Okay.
I hosted the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance Liberty Dinner this year, and I got that information, and I believe that it's a really right in the ballpark at about 120.
Oh, wait, those aren't free. There's 120 free staters?
NHLA endorsed candidates. Excuse me. I guess
my question
I don't really
is about
care
Free
about
State Project
I get where you're
participants.
coming from, but I don't care that much about free staters.
Okay, then don't answer the question. I'm asking someone who might know how many free staters in comparison to 2 years ago.
My understanding is that it's increased, and it is something that is very much a social thing. Like if you move here, you hang out with some cool people, and you're like, wow, this is so great. I hang around with these like-minded people. And then you find out, a little later, like, oh, that guy is a state representative? No kidding. And, maybe you go and testify and you see how something works and you go, I could do that. And there's a lot of that going on. It's almost like, in a hideous, deformed sort of way, it's the opposite of like entrepreneurialism, but you see people just kind of picking up viral, get involved with doing this particular activity. Pretty neat.
Dennis, this is Johnny Ray. Did you say that typically there are about 12 free staters in the NH House of Reps?
That has been the case the last couple cycles.
In a very large body of 400, so that's about 3%, and that's very, very, very low.
What are you getting at, Johnny Ray? We'll come back with more here, Dennis. Thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you. It's Free Talk Live. As we continue here talking about politics, Johnny Ray, you had made a comment at the very end of the last segment, and I'm not sure what...
A nasty little snipe is what it was.
I'm not sure what you were getting at there. You were saying that there were about a dozen Free State Project participants. These are people who've moved to New Hampshire to achieve more liberty in our lifetime. It's a great project. Go to freestateproject.org if you love the ideas of freedom. This is definitely the place to be and to get active. Johnny Ray, you've always been a critic of voting here on the show, but what were you getting at when you were asking about the small? You were sort of identifying this percentage, 3% or something like that, of the state representatives here are Free State Project participants, and you were mocking.
This is what we get for listening to the janitor, by the way.
Yes, Dennis Goddard, the expert we had with us, was said that historically, traditionally, we've got for the past many years, we've had kind of a rolling group of about 12 free staters in the NH House.
I would say it's been probably 4 years. Has it been about 4 years?
Well, yeah. If this is the fourth year, so that we're going on a third term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, we had a success, and then a setback, as Goddard said, and then we'll see how things go this year. I know that I see one free stater that got voted in now.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's fantastic news. Now, a lot of the people in sort of the old guard of the party, and I mentioned this earlier, the different parties, the Democrats and Republicans, they are very upset about Free State Project participants running in the Republican and Democratic parties. Of course, many of them might choose to run in a third party if it were actually, well, doable, if it were easier to get on as a third party. But the Republicans and Democrats have made it very difficult to get on as a third party. And so folks are naturally going to take the path of least resistance, and they're running in the Republican and Democrat parties and really upsetting people. So in theory, there's all this there's this push on both sides of the aisle to out the Free Staters, to tell the voters to look out. Those Free Staters are coming in here. They're going to try to make government smaller. They're going to try to, make people more free over time. And that needs to be stopped. So there have been some real mudslinging campaigns that have gone on. There has been full-color printed advertisements sent out to try to smear Free State Project participant candidates. It's been very interesting. So if anything, if there's any success to this level of pushback, we'll see if that's the case this year. And I think that that big question mark is how many Free Staters will end up getting elected. And I'm very interested to find that out.
So we traditionally have about a dozen, or for the past 4 years. Mm-hmm. The NH House of Representatives is a very large body relative to all
400 people.
Thank you. 400 people. And doing the math, 12 divided by 400 is 0.03, which tells me that that's 3%, mm-hmm. which is dismal. It's
Well, what do you expect, Johnny Ray? The Free State Project hasn't even officially begun its move yet. I mean, I don't think that's dismal at all. I think that's awesome. Okay. Libertarians everywhere can't get elected to save their life. And here in New Hampshire, we've had dozens of elections.
No. You're falling into his trap.
What are you talking about?
He is wrong from the get-go. there are 20,000 people that are supposed to move for the Free State Project.
Yeah.
Anybody who's thinks about it for any second knows that half of them probably won't move. So you're talking about 10,000 people. 10,000 people aren't going to move to a state of 1.3 million and take over the government. That's a ridiculous statement. The fact is, Free Staters are only the cavalry. They are the lifeblood returning to the state, coming to the state to give to give excitement to people who are already of a liberty mindset here. So there were 120 approximately Liberty endorsed candidates, New Hampshire Liberty Alliance endorsed candidates in the House last year. That puts the Libertarian. I'm sorry, it was 100, like 100. Excuse me. And that puts the Libertarian veto at 20%. That's really, really strong. Most bills don't pass with a margin of more than 20% because you have to come to the Libertarians to get your conservative bill or your liberal bill through.
Yeah, I mean that's not necessarily a true all the time kind of statement, right?
Of course,
there
it's
was
not
a
true all
gas
the time.
tax. There was a gas tax that passed. And
yes.
the Libertarians didn't stop that, right? So
they're not all like you, Ian, and I wish they were. I wish they'd vote every issue every time. These are 80% Libertarians, people who score 80% and above on the Nolan chart. They fit, and they fit the greater Libertarian title.
I just think you make it sound a little bit unrealistic, the way that you say it.
Only to you who believes a Libertarian is a voluntarist.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have taken two words,
when you say there's a Libertarian
together.
veto, it makes it sound like that thing is something that is pretty consistent, and it's good. Like they've stopped a lot of bad legislation, like for instance the license plate scanners. New Hampshire doesn't have those. That came up as a new bill. 49 other states have the police with the ability to scan people's license plates with this technology that's, I'm sure, very expensive. New Hampshire was the only state to reject that. So there are some neat examples and recent examples as well of stuff that everywhere else that it gets passed, but not in New Hampshire. And I think that's very exciting. It's an exciting time to be here, but it's certainly not an across-the-board thing. There's still some stuff that's getting through that shouldn't. That we need to. More work needs to be done. More people need to move here and get active. Period.
Yes, I just want people to understand the progress that's been made, and it is stunning. The freest state in the union, as rated by the Mercatus Center, the only organization that's rating these things, 3 out of the 5 times it's been rated, has had has had a lot of progress since its last rating. This is it. New Hampshire is the freedom destination for the whole planet.
Right, so check it out at freestateproject.org.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.